What's up, witches? My name is Wish. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you for joining me again for another Witchcraft Fundamentals video. Today's video is going to be on moon magic. I hope that you all had a great full moon last night. I know I sure did. Please drop what you did for the full moon or how you felt, and let's talk about it. So without further ado, I do just want to show you all the card that I pulled for today's video for you and I. When I was going to grab the cards, I flipped the deck over. Instead of going into a blind shuffle, I started by flipping the deck over. I never do that. I never look at the card that's on the bottom. And this was the card that's on the bottom, which I just thought was pretty freaking amazing. And also, this oracle card is self-explanatory. Follow the moon. It's exactly what we're doing today. The moon is a beautiful, wonderful resource that we all have access to. She is a beautiful tool to use and aid you in cleansing and charging both yourself, your tools, and your work, whatever magical workings you're doing. She is the mother of the cosmos, ruling over feminine energy, creativity, and intuition and psychic works, among other things. The moon is either going to be waxing or waning. So the waxing moon starts when the moon is new and goes until 3 days after the moon is full. The waxing moon is going to be when the moon is growing or getting larger. The waning moon is going to be from 3 days after the full moon, day 3 after the full moon, all the way up until the next new moon. The waning moon is going to be for getting rid of things, pushing things away, magical workings of that nature. And oppositely, the waxing moon, which is the moon growing and getting larger, is going to be good for magical workings, bringing things into us, making things come to fruition. All right? So now that we've got that down, the moon, and I have my notes here, there's a lot of stuff that I want to cover in this video because I do plan on doing an intermediate moon magic video, so I wanted to make sure that I got all of the basics down in this one. So if this video is long, I'm sorry. If I glance down a lot, I'm sorry. I just want to make sure that I cover everything. The moon has a 28-day cycle and it has 8 phases, so I'm going to go through those phases with you now, tell you a little bit about what I do during these phases, and also show you some helpful tools that you can use as a beginner witch. All right? Cool. So, first, we have the new moon. So, the new moon is when a time period when the sun and the moon are conjunct, which means they are going to be in the same zodiac sign. The new moon. The new moon is good for organizing your space. It's really, really good for organizing your space, cleansing, and having some conscious gratitude, implementing conscious gratitude practice into your craft. The new moon is most commonly used for setting intention. That's probably the thing that takes place the most in a broad spectrum across the globe with witches. Releasing and forgiveness are a good thing to do at this time. Allowing the energy to build during the waxing time period of the moon phases is something that I personally try to implement. So on the new moon, I will release what is no longer serving me. I will go in and do some searching within myself and maybe write down what I want to let go of, what my intentions to let go are, and I will make space for the energy that is going to be increasing as we get closer and closer to the full moon. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, next we have the waxing crescent moon. So this is a time to keep your intentions in the forefront of your brain, in your mind's eye. Explore the intuitive flow, how you're feeling, what your emotions are, maybe journaling, and also to have some curiosity towards what you're feeling. Kind of start to form what you would like to do on the full moon. Maybe like exploring how your body is feeling, what emotions you've been having come to the forefront, things like that. The waxing crescent moon is a wonderful time for curses and hexes. If you are into that sort of thing, that is the time to do it. Just saying. All right, next we have the first quarter moon. That is 7 days after the new moon, and it is one of the best times for allowing the creativity to flow, to really allow that energy of the moon to just plant those new ideas and go with them. Honestly, the first quarter is pretty good for mostly everything. I would say that most magic is safe to do at this point in time, and there's not a lot you shouldn't be doing. It's just a really good time energetically. And just remember that we are working towards something with the waxing moon energies. We're bringing things towards us, we're manifesting and allowing our personal power to fill on up, girl. So the waxing gibbous is a great time for creativity, for magic that is bringing in, like I mentioned before. Magic for clarity and communication are optimal at this time. I cannot stress to you how many times, like right before the full moon, I have felt like I just needed to get my thoughts together, and I have done a little bit of journaling, meditation, grounding work at this time to prepare myself for the typically bigger works that I do on the full moon. So that's a really lovely thing that you can do with yourself personally during the waxing gibbous phase of the moon, getting ready for that full phase of the moon. And yeah, you guessed it. Next we have the full moon, which just like the new moon is good for pretty much everything. The full moon is typically a time for social magic, so covens usually gather on full moons. If you're a solitary witch, maybe you are feeling like you want to be more social at this time, so just be aware of that. Really, this video is just aimed towards kind of getting your brain started on being aware of kind of what energies happen around what time, so that really this video is geared towards helping you start making smaller changes towards a more magical mindset and understanding what the different energies of the different moon phases are typically, so you can start to recognize that within yourself. So when you start doing spell work, if you haven't started already, you can use that and have that in your toolbox to pull out whenever you want to, feel like it, etc. Okay? So, anyways, social magic, full moon. I highly suggest you embrace the energy of the full moon. Lots of times around the full moon, we will be feeling like we just need to get out of our skin, like we have so much energy, we're just like alive and buzzing. And I encourage you to embrace this, to do whatever your creativity and passion are leading you to do. For me, it's dancing, so maybe you could, if you like to do something like that, or even if you don't, maybe you could push yourself to do a little bit of joyous, ecstatic dance. Maybe you could dance with the moon or for the moon. Dancing under the moon is something that I highly recommend. So just get creative, go outside, allow that energy to fill your cup, to fill your inner well, and just embrace it. A lot of people feel kind of crazy around this time. That's where we get the lunatic word from, because it affects us as human beings so fully and so deeply. As witches, we can make the choice, and we understand what's happening, so we can make the choice to embrace that energy and really allow it to fill our soul. The full moon is a good time for love spells, for passion spells, for connecting to spirit and yourself, charging your tools under the full moon, so setting your tools in the moonlight, setting your crystals in the moonlight. This is a great time for divination, for communing with spirits and spirit guides, for doing work on self-love and self-improvement. The full moon is a special time for many reasons, but my personal love for the full moon comes from that self-love, self-improvement side of things. Shadow work is something that a lot of people have been buzzing about recently, and that's because as a collective we are healing ourselves right now, and shadow work is really important in that journey, and shadow work during the full moon looks something like going into the moonlight and letting the moonlight illuminate whatever it is that you have been avoiding, that you haven't been paying attention to, that you've wanted to ignore. Those bits and pieces of ourselves that we need to embrace can be illuminated by the light of the full moon, bathed in that light, and made into whatever we want. It is a really, really powerful time to embrace those darker parts of ourselves and bring those darker parts of ourselves into the light so we can work on them further. I want to discuss this more in depth in my intermediate moon magic video, so we will be talking about moon magic in correspondence with shadow work in that upcoming video, so stay tuned for that. Alright, and lastly, before I move on, my favorite thing, what I do every single full moon is I declare myself. So, new moon, I will set my intentions. I will sit down, I will ground myself, I will look into my heart and my soul and figure out what I want to work on, what I want to change. And I will write those intentions out. And for 7 days after the new moon, I will go outside and I will read my intentions to the moon. And then after those 7 days, I will do whatever I feel I need to put those intentions written down to the side. Maybe I bury them, something of that nature. And then when the full moon comes back around, I will go and I will sit down and ground myself again, but this time I will be in the light of the full moon when I do this. And I will write declarations. So I have put those intentions, I've planted those seeds at the new moon, and I've let them grow all the way up until the new moon, or the full moon, and when the full moon comes, I go and I declare myself. So say I had an intention at the new moon that was, I will no longer hold fear of the future, right? That's my intention for the new moon. And I've let that intention grow and grow and grow up until the full moon. So on the full moon, I go out into the moonlight, and looking up at the moon or just basking in the moonlight, I will say something along the lines of, I am fearless. I go into the future with certainty and clarity. I am powerful. I know my path. So I declare myself to the moon. I declare myself to the universe and to myself in that light of the full moon for the whole cosmos to see and hear. And it is so, so energizing, so empowering, and I highly recommend this to everyone, not just witches. But if you decide to do this, please let me know below. Let me know how you feel after the next full moon after doing this. And blessed be, I really, 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 really encourage you to do this, and I hope that it brings you some extreme peace and empowerment. Moving on, we have the waning phases now, because after the full, we get waning. It's getting smaller. So we have the waning gibbous next, which is a really great time to release and reflect on what the full moon has illuminated for you. So it's just a nice time to, feel out what feels different after that full moon. And sometimes certain full moons can be more intense than others. So that's what I like to do at this point in time, is just really kind of check in with myself and see what has changed. After that, we have the third quarter moon, which is 7 days after the full moon. This is a time to harvest the changes that you have seen since the full moon, acknowledge them, kind of revel in them a little bit, pat yourself on the back maybe, and embrace that newness and welcome it, kind of just recognize that it's there. This is also a really great time for ecstatic dance, kind of like I mentioned earlier, and forgiveness. So maybe you were kind of hoping that you could let something go, and you've just really, really been working on letting it go. But, there's still bits and pieces of this left over, and you're thinking, oh, I did this, and it's still here. Well, now is the time to forgive yourself, make space to keep pushing forward, and move on. And that's that. Now is the time to harvest those changes, allow yourself to be the new version of yourself, whatever that looks like, embrace that person, and then move on. All right, now we have the last phase, which is the waning crescent. And this is the time that you pamper yourself. So this is a time for inward meditation. We're preparing ourselves for the coming new moon. And that's when we're going to make space for all of the creative new ideas. And we're making space inwardly to be filled and recharged by the growing energy, getting closer and closer to that full moon, and embracing all of those new things that are going to come in when the cycle continues. So this is kind of when I like to pamper myself. I'll do a bath, I'll do a cleansing of myself and my space maybe, but it's mostly me just getting ready and figuring out what I want to do on the upcoming new moon and what intentions I'm going to focus on. Maybe I'll plan out my spells for the next week, or the next month, or the next whatever, depending on how you work. And that's pretty much that. Those are the 8 phases and kind of how I work with those. A couple of tools for new witches, beginner witches, and they're not by any means necessary, but they can be super helpful. So you can find stuff like this all over the internet. There are tons and tons of different journals like this. This is just the one that I use. I actually bought this last year. This is 2019's, and I bought another one for this year, 2020. So it says, The Moon Journal, a journey of self-reflection through the astrological year. And when you open it, it's by Sandy Citron, but it's Citron with a S. So if you open this, what you're going to find in here is some information on the energies of the moon, the energies of the sun as well in this one. But it talks a little bit about the waxing and waning phases of the moon and kind of how to work with those. And then you flip and you've got some charts talking about the different energies of those phases of the moon. And there's just a lot of stuff like that at the beginning of this one. And just some more information, activities, and rituals that you can do with those different phases of the moon in here. But what I like about this journal specifically is that it has, and I didn't fill out all of these, so I'm going to go to one I didn't fill out. And this is the one for Libra 2019. And it has like a little thing that has to do with that zodiac energy. So this one deals with zodiacs a lot too. So Libra energy is all about balance. So this says, I create balance in my life. And then it has a little bit about how to work with the Libra energy. It has a place for you to put when the new moon is, when the full moon is, and you know, you can like create your own calendar over here about stuff that you want to do with working with the moon energies. And it has how to work with, so like for 2019, I would go and I would find, you know, when the new moon was in Libra of that year, and I would put all that stuff on there. And then I would go and I would find this page and maybe come up with a ritual or some kind of self-reflection, meditation, or journaling that I wanted to do. And this just kind of guides you on how to work with those energies in that specific moon phase with that sign. And it also has places for you to journal afterwards, which I really liked and I found really cool about this journal. And there are tons of journals like this, and this one was, I think, like $12. I got it, oh no, it was $16, sorry. But I got this off Walmart.com, actually, not even Amazon. So it was very, very helpful for me because I kind of started getting intense with my moon study last year, and it was really beautiful experience for me, and I hope to bring some of that to you as well. The next thing that could be beneficial for you to get is something like this. This is the Moon Sign Date Book by Llewellyn. Llewellyn puts out a ton of tools and materials for witches. I used to just get their Witches Almanac, but then I found this, and I love date books, I love notes, I love planning. So this is just kind of what made sense for me. I really love this because it tells you at the beginning, it tells you what all of the eclipses, equinoxes, solstices, and it tells you when Mercury retrograde starts. And it has this little key down here telling you when the sun and moon are in what phase. And when you flip to it has this little calendar at the beginning, and then you flip to the actual pages where you put down different things for different days, and it has like what phase the moon is in, if it's good for planting or fishing, when the moon goes into what phase, when it's void of course. You can see right there it says that on Sunday the 3rd, the moon went void of course, which means it was not in any astrological sign, zodiac sign at that time. And it's just got really cool, really helpful things if you're trying to learn and do moon magic. Like, this could be an invaluable tool for you. And these don't cost very much either. I think this was probably like, yeah, this one was $12. And they also have an almanac, which doesn't necessarily have the calendar part of it, but it does have all of the similar information. When it's good time to do this kind of magic, when it's good time to plant this kind of stuff, etc. And I really like this because it also has, at the beginning of each month, let's go to April, it has a little bit of something about the moons that month. So this has like different things on when to plant in your garden or fertilize, because it's springtime in April. And then a little bit of information about what happened with the moon that year. It also tells you when the full moon and new moon are and how to honor them and work with them. So if you are a planner and you like doing stuff like that, like me, this could be a great tool for you as well. And lastly, the best thing that you can do to learn the moon is to go out and look at the moon. Just spend some time with her. I think I mentioned in my first video that I like to tell baby witches to go commit for 1 month to going outside and looking at the sky and spending some time with the moon and just seeing how you feel. That is a great place to start. It's free, anybody can do it, and it is extremely powerful and extremely moving. So thank you for joining me today. I look forward to seeing you next time. Blessed be.